The Torah tells us in Parshas Naso regarding the Nazir, Kol Yemei Haziro LaHashem Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. A Nazir, because of his sanctity, is prohibited to be Metami Lameis, can't defile and contaminate himself to a dead body. But furthermore, Le'avi V'Imo, to his father and to his mother, Le'achi V'Lachoso, to his brother and to his sister, Lo Yitama Lahem B'Moso. He's also prohibited to be Metami Lameis, to defile and contaminate himself toward one of the Krovim, one of his closest in kin, Ki Nezer Elokav Al Rosha, because the Nazir is holy, and for long as his Naziros lasts. And before Chumash note that this is in contrast to the Kohen in Parshas Emor, who also has a heightened level of Kedushah. However, regarding defiling, contaminating himself to the Shiva Krovim, to the seven closest in kin, the Torah tells us regarding the Kohen, Kim L'Sheira Karav Elav, regarding his closest wife, his spouse, Le'avi V'Limo, his father, to his mother, Livno Levito, to his son, or to his daughter, Lachi V'Lachosa, to his sister, to his brother, a Kohen is permitted to defile himself to those Shiva Krovim, father, brother, sister, mother, and daughter. How could it be that a Kohen is permitted to be Metame Lameis, to defile himself to the Shiva Krovim? The Kohen is Kedushas Yisrael. He's the emissary of the Jewish people, comes in closest contact with Kadosh Baruch Hu. But a Nazir is prohibited to be Metame for those Shiva Krovim, while a Kohen can. What's the pshat? How do we understand the distinction between Kedushas Kehuna and Kedushas Nazir? The Torah tells us in Sefer Dvarim Parshas Re'eh, Perek Yudalid Pasuk Beis, Ki am kadosh ata l'Hashem Elokecha. We are a holy nation unto God. Uvecha v'char Hashem lios lo liam segula. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen us to be the holiest of all nations. Me'asher al pnei ha'adama, from all of the nations upon the earth. And Rashi, commenting on the words Ki am kadosh ata, you are a holy nation, says Kedushas atzmecha me'avosecha. We receive Kedushah ancestrally, inherently. Every single Jew born to a Jewish mother receives inherent Kedushah, Kedushas Yisrael. Yisrael afal pi shechata Yisrael, who a Jew can never lose his Kedushah. It lasts for eternity. It can never be taken away and it can never be removed. However, Rashi also says, V'od uvecha bachar lecha lios l'am. And furthermore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen you to create your own Kedushah, your own sense of inherent Kedushah, to build upon the Kedushas Avos, to build upon the Kedushah that has been given to you. Inherently, you can build and create Kedushas Atzmacha, your own level of sanctity. In his drashos, Rabbi Soloveitchik explains that this dichotomy is something that Korach didn't understand. When he argued with Moshe and Aaron and said that Kol ha'eda kulam kidoshim u'v'socham Hashem lama tisnasu al kal Hashem, Korach didn't understand this double-edged kedusha that every single Jew has. Korach understood that we're all equal. We're all part of the same community, and every single Jew has the same status. You can't rise and you can't fall. We're all the same. Every single Jew is identical in the Kedushah. And although Korach was correct in that respect, he was missing a second level of Kedushah, and that's the ability that every single Jew has to pine and to climb and to reach dizzying levels of spirituality. The higher you go, the more you want, and whatever it is that you aspire to in Kedushah, you can reach that. And thus says the Shem Yishmo in Parshas Naso, that's the distinction between the Nazir and the Kohen. The Kohen's Kedushah is ancestral. It's inherent. It's because he's born a Kohen, always a Kohen. It can never be removed from him. And therefore, when it comes to being Metame Lameis, the Kohen is permitted to defile himself for the Shiva Krovim, because those are his ancestors and those are his descendants. They're in kin. They're part of his family. So thus to his father and to his mother, to his sister and to his brother, to his son and to his daughter and to his spouse, who are all part of the inherent Kedusha that the Kohen has, the Kohen is permitted to defile himself. However, regarding the Nazir, that's Kedushas Atzmecha, says the Shem Shmuel, the Nazir builds his own Kedusha. He climbs and he says, I'm not satisfied with how I was born. Nezer Elokav, I want more. I'm interested in reaching a different level of Kedusha. I'm Nezer Elokav, I want to be Kodesh LaHashem. And therefore, for such a Jew, you can't even defile yourself to ancestors, to descendants, because you're different. You've created your own sense of Kedusha, your own independent Kedusha. And even when it comes to being Metame Lameis for the Shiva Krovim, says the Shem Yishmuel that a Nazir is prohibited from doing that. Thus, these are the two levels of Kedusha that a Jew has. It's the inherent ancestral Kedusha, and building upon that is Kedushas Atzmacha. With this background, we can understand something phenomenal about two of the greatest mountains in Jewish history, Har Sinai and Har HaMoriah. Har Sinai, upon which we received the Aseres Adibros, Torah Shebichsav. Regarding that mountain, the Torah tells us that immediately upon HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming on the mountain, received extensial amount of Kedushah. However, upon leaving the mountain and Kadosh Baruch Hu being Ola, back Lamaram, the Torah tells us, B'mshoch Hayovel, Hema Yalu Bahar, as soon as a Kadosh Baruch Hu leaves the mountain, Klal Yisrael is permitted to re-enter and to climb onto the mountain. However, regarding Kedushah's Har HaMoriah, the Torah tells us in the Rambam Paskins, Kitchel Shaita v'Kitchel Asilavo, the Kedushah of Har HaMoriah never ever leaves. Asks Rabbi Eliyahu Lapian, what's the distinction, what's the difference? Why when it comes to Har Sinai, does the Kedushah that was existed there on the mountain at Shas Matan Torah, does it leave? As opposed to Kedushah's Har HaMoriah that lasts forever. And Rabbi Eliyahu Lapian says, look at what occurred on each of those mountains. Har Sinai was Kabbalah Satorah. We were recipients, we were passive. We watched the Koach HaGadol Yad Chazak of Ezrach Anatuya, the Oso Sumovsim. We saw HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a most incredible way. But we were just bystanders. We were passive, we watched. We didn't do anything. We weren't creative, we didn't build. It was ancestral form of Kedushah. As opposed to Har HaMoriah, where there Avram Avinu was willing to offer his son Yitzchak as a sacrifice. Akedas Yitzchak, Avram and Yitzchak were willing to do something different than nobody had ever done. And furthermore, that's the place where the Beis HaMikdash was built. Klal Yisrael came together and were able to build and to grow and to do. And a Kedushah that exists and is built upon Kedushah's Atzmacha, that Kedushah can never be taken away. And explains Rabbi Eliyahu Lapian that that's the categorical distinction between Kedushah's Har Sinai, which begins and leaves because we don't have a role and active participants in it, as opposed to Kedushah's Har HaMoriah, which we built, which we created, and thus that Kedusha can never be taken away. Every single Jew has two aspects of Kedusha. We are so lucky to be born Jewish and to have Kedusha as avos, to have what Kadosh Baruch Hu has given us as an incredible matana. But it can't stop there, and it should never stop there. That's only Kedusha's Kehuna. But the second level of Kedushah's Nazir, as the Parshah talks about, is building, is climbing, is creating Kedusha with our own selves, with our families, in our communities, building the Kedusha and jumping off of where we have received up until today. Thus the distinction between the Nazir and the Kohen, the distinction between Har HaMoriah and Har Sinai, and the ability that we can also create and build is something unique to each and every single one of us. What Korach didn't understand is something that each of us must understand to build, to grow, to climb. Wishing everybody a wonderful, good Shabbos.